Hello, my name is Gaillard. I'm coming to you today to present a workshop on social and emotional learning and the parent and caregiver. I'm a social worker at Newark Public Schools. I work with the child study team. I've been teaching social and emotional learning with Rutgers and the Abbott Leadership Institute for a couple of seasons now. And I'm excited to bring forth this wonderful opportunity for you to learn new tools in this shared quarantine time. So we're going to get right to it. But before we get to it, I must tell you, this is the first time that I'm pre-recording with no audience. So it's totally weird. But I did a run through and the information is the information and it's a lot of fun. So after a few minutes, I'm going to forget no one's here with me. I'm going to be entertaining myself. So come on with me to the presentation. I'm going to start the slideshow now. Social and emotional learning for parents and caregivers. Not only is this for parents and caregivers, we're going to focus on self-care and local community supports that can help you right now with whatever you might need. Here's my usual welcome. So I contemplated, should I even do a welcome? Because I'm here by myself, but I think it's still going to be good for you. So while you're at home watching this recording, I would like for you to think about your children. Who are your children? What are their names? Why do you enjoy being a caregiver? Why do you enjoy having children? And why are you taking this workshop or experiencing this workshop right now? Why did you choose to come? Now, how are you doing with quarantine? Have you experienced any losses? Are you experiencing any opportunities? What resources have helped you? So those are things I like for you to contemplate. If we were all here together in a nice party, experience this together, we would have a nice conversation. Everyone would be discussing these things. But you're at home, you're with a family member or a friend. Ask yourself, ask the person next to you, how are things going about your children? Why do you like being a caregiver? How is quarantine going for you? Have you experienced losses? What opportunities and what resources have been helpful for you? And if you're not sure, come on with this small journey and we're going to take you on a little road trip through an introduction to social emotional learning that can help you in all these areas. We must start with a definition. What is SEL? What is social and emotional learning? I'm just going to read the definition verbatim because it's just so good. Social and emotional learning, SEL, is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. This definition was developed by Castle, as you can see down in your right-hand corner, the Center for Academic Social and Emotional Learning. This center has been studying SEL for over 25 years. They developed the curriculums that most school districts use across this United States. And they've also developed the parent empowerment series that we're using now. I'm using just a part of it, but you should look them up, castle.org. So getting back to the definition, you might say that this is all common sense, but we all must know that common sense ain't always common. And people need direction on how to think, what to do, especially in times of hardship where it's hard to think, it's hard to have direction. So just think about it. I'm going to read it one more time. Social emotional learning is the process through which children and adults, we're all in this together, understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. This is like a whole personal mission statement. You can just write this in your journal, and these are your goals over the next year to make sure that you're hitting these points. Can be helpful. So if you just walk through the definition, this is self-care itself. Social emotional learning is composed of 5 core competencies. I use this all the time. As you can see, I have the chart behind me in my office space here because social emotional learning has become part of my everyday life. I use all these tools and they help me. They help me to be a better parent. They help me to be a better employee and coworker and collaborator on many projects because I'm always keeping in mind these competencies that help me to stay balanced and kinder and more graceful towards others. So let's just get started. I'm going to walk you through. I like to start with self-awareness. It all starts with the self. When you're learning social emotional learning, it's not something that you would say, oh, you need that, or I know 5 people who could use this. They might be able to, but when you're in an airplane and they say, put your gas mask on first, you have to put your SEL mask on first before you can share it with others or recommend it for others. You got to start with the self. So we're going to start with self-awareness. Self-awareness says identifying emotions, accurate self-perception, recognizing strengths, self-confidence, and self-efficiency. Social awareness, perspective taking, empathy, appreciating diversity. And when we think about diversity, it's not only about diversity in race or color or culture, it's diversity in thought, because not everybody thinks like we do, and we have to be okay with that. And then respect for others. Come with me over to the left, self-management, impulse control, stress management, self-discipline, self-motivation, goal setting, and organizational skills. Over to the right, relationship skills, communication, social engagement, relationship building, and teamwork. Responsible decision-making, identifying problems, analyzing situations, solving problems, evaluating, reflecting, and ethical responsibility. That's a whole lot. But I use this chart every time I find something challenging. I think about this chart and I put it in perspective. I put it in its box. Where is it coming from? And I run through it to help me to problem solve and calm myself down and how to move forward. But that's for the advanced class. You can learn about that later. But this is just a snippet, just a few minutes to introduce you to social emotional learning. And because this is just a snippet, an introduction, we're going to just explore self-awareness. This is my favorite core competency of social emotional learning. If you can see, this picture here is a mirror. And I wish we were here together so I can show you the mirror of me looking at me and you looking at you, because it starts with the self. So let's run through recognizing one's own feelings, emotions, and thoughts. It starts with you recognizing. And sometimes that's so hard because it's so easy to say, I'm so upset. That situation or that person made me so, twisted, upset, negative feeling. But if we were to take the mirror and say, what about that situation made me feel so negative or not balanced or unsafe? What was it? And if you take a moment to reflect, it'll come to you, what about that situation bothered you so much? Because not everything doesn't bother everyone the same way. The thing that can set you off, that same thing would not bother the next person. So whenever the next time you're set off into some negative or unsafe place or mad place, think about it. What about this is making me mad? So this is a part of knowing thyself. This is that part when people talk about being woke. Wokeness. Woke is overrated. People always use the woke. Consciousness, so consciousness is rising. People are awakening. And one of the first pieces of awakening is when you can really reflect on yourself and be honest with yourself and start to move forward in an improved way. That's being woke. That's what they talk about, consciousness rising. And if you can just explore that one piece, you'll be miles ahead of where you were yesterday. The next part, accurate self-perception. How do you see yourself? Now, sometimes we might say, oh, some people are puffed up, they're conceited, but having a good sense of self-esteem sometimes can be seen as conceited. And I'd rather be on the high end than on the low end. But if you're not sure how you appear, just start thinking about it. How do I see myself? What do I think of myself? You might ask some people that you trust to ask you, how do you see me? And in that, if there's some areas that you would like to improve or you feel bad about, or once you start exploring it, you might feel a little shame, kick the shame out the window and say, hey, this is the first day of my beginning. So when you look at yourself and you think about who you are, if you need to improve, just improve. And take this class, the extended version, the SEL, contact us later, and you can get in the extended version to learn more ways of how to do that. But it's just a matter of changing how you think and moving on. But you must think about who you are and how you present to the world. You must recognize your own strengths. You are awesome. There are things about you that are totally awesome. You're the only you in this world. There's no you like you. You're the only you that can do what you do. So recognize your strengths. When I do meetings in my social work job, I have to ask adults and sometimes adolescents, what are they good at or what are they proud of? Sometimes it's very difficult for a parent to say what they're proud of with their children. And sometimes it's difficult for the person to say what their strengths are, because guess what? No one has ever really asked them. I didn't realize how many people who were never asked, what are your strengths? And the other person sat back and listened for their response. So this is an opportunity for you to think about yourself and say, what are your strengths? What are you good at? Everyone is good at something, and only you can do that something or those some things. So be proud of your strengths. There's nothing conceited about it or puffed up. Knowing your strengths and recognize them is part of building a strong sense of self and self-esteem. The next part of self-awareness is recognizing the importance of self-confidence in handling daily tasks and challenges. Whew, that's a whole mouthful, y'all. Because as you move about your day and you have to work and parent and be a partner and all the things that we do, if we are not self-confident, how is that affecting all the relationships that we need to maintain our life? You know, what are we really doing at work, in our households, in our partnerships, in our relationships, if we first are not self-confident? I'm sure the lack of confidence disturbs all relationships. And sometimes that's a fearful, sad, embarrassing, dark place that a person lives in secretly when they don't have self-confidence. But you know what? As of today, you don't have to live in that hole anymore. You can just become more self-confident because now you know your strengths, you perceived yourself, you thought about your own feelings, and you're moving forward on how to improve. And you took this workshop today, you're listening to this recording, you are on your way. So just know when you lack self-confidence, it really disturbs all the rest of your life. And so what do we want? We want balance. People want joy. People want a sense of happiness more than not. And the last piece of self-awareness for SEL is self-efficiency, being good at what you do, whatever it is. So think about, how efficient are you at work? How good or efficient are you at parenting, at being a partner, at whatever it is that you take on? How good are you? And if you don't feel that you're good at it, then just improve. Shift. Maybe that doesn't work for you. Don't work at something that's not working for you. What you can do naturally is your gift, is the thing that you can do extremely well because it comes naturally to you. And if there's something you aspire to that you're just not that good at yet, keep trucking. You know, you can do it, but you must have a sense of efficiency. You must feel a sense that I can do some things very well. And you can, but you must start thinking about it. So if you look at self-awareness and you think about all these things, take a mirror. I had a mentor that would say, go look in the mirror, look at yourself and tell yourself you did it to yourself and do better. He was really raw. That was a whole nother thing. But I just took the lesson of looking in the mirror and reflecting on what I've done, who I am, and what I need to do, and not beat myself up about it and say, tomorrow's a new day, and just start making small strides towards improving the areas in your life. Because once you improve, the whole world will improve around you. You will say, well, this person needs to take this SEL class because they need some work. You know, they might need some work. But when you start to improve because you took this class, everyone around you will start improving the way they react and respond to you. They won't even know why, but you'll know it's because I took that class and I'm changing. Next slide. So once we reflected and thought about how we can improve ourselves, or we feel pretty good about where we are, we want to add some gratitude. You know, some people think that a person can't be happy all the time. Like, happiness is fleeting. It's not always, but it is possible to access joy and happiness every single day. I guarantee it. I promise you, because I've accessed it. This little formula I want to share with you. Come in close, right? So about 5 years ago, I watched the OWN show, Super Soul Sunday, and there was a woman called Brene Brown. Come to find out, she's this guru on gratitude. That's all she talks about. That's all she speaks about. And she said this one thing that changed my whole life 5 years ago, 5 or more. She said, when you live in gratitude, may you never have an unhappy day ever again in your life. When you become unhappy, you fall out of gratitude. You stop thinking about the things you're grateful for. But the moment that you find that you're unhappy or in some negative feeling place, you start counting the things you're grateful for, because gratitude and unhappiness cannot coexist. They can't live in the same place. Try it. I guarantee you it's going to work every single time. And ever since I have adapted a lifestyle of gratitude, I say my gratitude prayers in the morning and affirmations. I say them at night, and all throughout the day. It has become a real lifestyle for me, not just for me. We've taught this formula to almost 200 families across Newark, and everyone is still raving about how their lives have improved because of being aware of gratitude and really being proactive about accessing it every day. Next slide. So here is Slido.com, and there's a question, what are you grateful for? And I'm going to come out of it, and I hope that I can go back to, nope, we may have to skip this part because I don't have the Slido code. So I'm going to go right by this slide. But the Slido code, and I'll get that to you towards the end, I hope. The Slido code is an activity that I want to share with you. What it will do is you'll go to Slido.com, you'll put the code in that I'm going to give you towards the end, we'll come back to it, and you'll create a big cloud of words of gratitude. So whoever's watching this video, they'll go to this website and just type in the code I'm going to give you, and you put in what you're grateful for today. And while you're doing it, you'll see other people typing in what they're grateful for at the same time. And in the end, this is an empathy cloud. Your cloud is going to say gratitude. It's going to say up here, what are you grateful for today? And then it will populate with all the things that you're grateful for and everyone else who's doing the project with you. This will open on Saturday when this webinar launches, and it will close maybe Wednesday. And then I will send it out. I will try to get an email to you all once it closes, but you'll be able to see it. So if you can't think of things you're grateful for, you'll see what other people are grateful for to give you ideas. Next slide. This is a video I'd like to show you on empathy. So once you self-reflected, you become more self-aware, you're thinking about yourself and how you affect the world around you. You are now thinking of gratitude more, you're experiencing more joy. You want to add some empathy in there too, because now that you're doing this work with yourself, you want to share these experiences with others. How do you do it? You can't tell them you need this workshop. What you do is start to become a more empathetic being. And I don't know about you, but I'd never heard of the word empathy until I went to graduate school. It wasn't even in my vocabulary. I didn't even know how that's possible. But this is a 3-minute clip by Brené Brown, and I'm just going to let it play for you. I wanted to make sure the sound is on because that is one of those bloopers that occurs when you're doing these webinars with all this stuff going on. You're like, why can't I hear the sound? Because you didn't click the sound button. Okay, so enjoy.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb. but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Now, wasn't that awesome? That's one of my favorite videos ever. So empathy is not just a word. What I learned from this video, it's a tool. You use empathy when you interact with others, when people are going through hard times. And sometimes if someone is mad at you, you can flip it and be empathetic with them, and then they won't even be mad at you anymore because you exercise empathy through this video. So I wrote down some points that I want you to think about when thinking of empathy. Now I had to write these points down because every time I watch it, I get a new set of things that I want to share or think about. So empathy is very important in my life, and it really helps me with my interaction with others on every level. So empathy is when you're feeling with people. It's when you're making the connection with a person's pain or discomfort, and it's being with those people. You know, like when someone actually dies and you have to be there with their loved ones, just be with them. Ask them, what can I say? What can I do? Well, I'll just sit here with you. You let me know if you need something, or just being with them and doing kind things around them. You don't always have to have a lot of things to say to try to hurry up their grief. Just be with a person. Even if it's not death, it's a lot of things, that emotions that people go through. And when you start to master empathy, you can be a much more helpful human being in this world. Next slide. Next tool. This is the last tool. You're going to love this one. So you're working on yourself. You learn to be more self-aware. You're all filled with gratitude. You learn how to work empathy. And then the thing happens. Throws everything out the window. I know I have some skills. I know I learned some stuff. But this situation is heavy, right? So when the situations get heavy, it gets heavy, or you feel negative, you feel mad, rageful, extremely sad, whatever the extreme feeling is, think of this method, S-T-O-P, stop. Let's go through it together. I'm going to read it with you. S, stop. Whenever you notice stress or imbalance, pause and be aware of how you feel. Stopping and thinking, it helps out a lot. Think about the last thing that occurred. What if you had stopped first and just thought about it? The next thing you want to do is take a breath. Now, the person on the other side might say, what are you doing? Say, I'm just taking a breath, just taking it all in. Simply bring your awareness into the breathing body, letting the sensations of your breath move into the forefront. Notice how your mind begins to settle a bit, bringing more clarity. Breath awareness actually harmonizes the cardiovascular system in the body, while also calming the alarm centers in the brain, in the more primitive parts of the brain. Yes, the brain does have primitive parts that are hiding from us. It's sticking in the amygdala. When you take the whole SEL class, we'll explore that more. But yes, the primitive part of your brain is always trying to pull you down. All right. When we are stressed, we can't think clearly or see any situation accurately. And then you observe. So you stop, you took a breath, you can see a bit clearly. Just notice how your breathing begins to naturally bring balance to the systems of the body. Let this be felt. Also look around. What's really happening in this moment? And then you proceed. Having shifted to a more mindfully responsive mode, take an action that is more skillful, appropriate, and best attuned to your situation. Okay, you got to take control of that situation. Don't let the situation take control of you. You don't want to hurt people. You don't want to be hurt. So it's best to stop before you do anything and quickly go over these steps. And you might say, how am I going to do all that if I'm standing right there in the situation? Well, first you want to read over this a few times. And so say you find yourself in the situation. I'm going to give you a few tips on how to get out of a heated, emotionally charged situation. If you're on the phone, say, hold on, put the phone on mute and do the stop method. Breathe, think, observe, you know. You just put it on hold and put it on mute. They're right there. The phone's right there. You didn't leave the person. You didn't say, let me call you back. You just said, hold on. Because the person on the other side still needs to be connected with you. You got to resolve it or do something, right? The next thing is if you're in a situation in your home, you can just say, can I have a moment? I'm going to go in the bathroom or the next room to just calm down and really think about how I want to proceed, because I want to make sure that it's the best way and that it's healthy for us. It could be your spouse, your partner, your child, whomever you're inflamed with. Just take a moment. If it's at work, you might say, can I go to the bathroom? Go to the bathroom, get there and breathe in the bathroom stall. You know, if you are on where remote, if you're on a Zoom, you say, hold on and put your screensaver on and breathe. But in every situation, you have the right to take some time and space between your response. No one has to have an immediate response, especially when you ask them, can you hold on for just a second? Let me think about this, or let me go to the bathroom. They got to give you a minute, you know, because you're not going to leave them. You're just taking a mental moment. Think about it. Next slide. So in the end, I promised you I would go over some resources. I'm not sure where you're watching this from, but this recording is for parents of Newark and or Essex County, New Jersey. If you're in another state, every state has community resources that are similar to these. So in the state of New Jersey, we have 211. You can go to 211.org, or you can just punch it on your phone, 211. You can talk about anything. You can say, my cat's stuck in a tree. My toilet won't flush. The leaves are in front of my house. The house is burning down. Whatever the situation is, call 211 and they have a resource that will help you. The 211 operator does not have the answer. They're not going to come out and help you, but they will give you the resource, the phone number, the website, the connection, the agency, whatever you need, they're going to give you the connection. Believe that. Anything under the sun, 211. If you need a food pantry, you need Pampers for the baby, you know, any of your needs, call 211. They're going to point you in the right direction. The next thing is we're in a shared quarantine. And that's a neat way of saying people are dying because of COVID, right? We're in quarantine because people are dying. People are dying and we are grieving. Those of us who are directly connected to the loved one, or those of us who see our friends grieving from afar. It is very healthy to get counseling. ImagineNJ.org is a Newark-based counseling agency for families, the whole family, children through parents, grandparents, extended family. It's a family service agency just for grief. I trained with the owner, the director, her name is Mary. I trained with her years ago. She had another grief agency. She actually brought in master grief, international grief agency training facilitators in the Midwest, the Dougie Center. And they train people from all over the world, and she brought them to us. And I was lucky enough to be in the class with Mary. So she is a guru, she's the truth, and she's going to handle you and your family gently and effectively. The Partnership for Children of Essex County, any child from infancy through 21 years old, if they have severe medical concerns, learning disabilities, behavioral health issues, you contact them, pcenj.org. Call their number directly or send them an email and say, hey, I need some help. The Partnership for Children was developed because in the year 2000, around that time, they realized that DIFAS couldn't handle every family situation. It wasn't necessary. So New Jersey had to split services. So where DIFAS or DCP&P is for emergency, real severe things, and the Partnership for Children is for long-term sustainability to help you to be safe and secure in your home situation with your family over time. And last but not least, your school's family liaison. Every school in the city of Newark has a family liaison. And what do? They help you with whatever you need as a parent. If you're having trouble connecting with staff members in the school or motivating your child, as from a parent perspective, if you need food or resources, your lights got cut off, you need a hot spot, whatever, let me tell you, they are a jack of all trades, and parent liaisons are masters, and they're tremendously empathetic, and helpful to all parents. Even if you're a caregiver, your grandparent, aunt, uncle, whoever you are, if you're caring for a child, your family advocate will help you in your school. Call up the school, email them, say, who's my family advocate, and connect with them. They'll be so happy to hear from you. And they also offer a lot of workshops to help you as well. So think about what resources you need. I'm pretty sure you can use one of these here. And if not, contact the person who introduced you to the workshop series that you're in today, and they will help you with more resources. And the last slide, what will you remember from today's social emotional learning lesson? What will you use? What will you share with others? I really hope you share some of the things that was taught today with others. You know, you got to hear about what I listened to today. Please share. That's how social emotional learning is effective, when we absorb it and then we share it as we try to understand and navigate with our friends and family, because it sets a trend and it starts a new way of thinking and gives us a new language. And before you know it, everyone is kind to each other and we're all singing kumbaya. I believe it can be possible. So that's it. Think about how you're going to use SEL and who you're going to share it with. So I thank you for this opportunity to share social emotional learning with you. My name again is Love M. Gaillard. I'm a social worker with the Newark Public Schools. You can follow me or contact me at Project Love on Facebook. Remember, it's L.O.V.E. to find me. And it was a pleasure bringing this presentation to you for the very first time, pre-recorded. I had a good time with myself. You have a wonderful day and a wonderful experience, and ask the person who introduced you to this workshop if you would like to take the SEL extended version with the Abbott Leadership Institute at Rutgers University. Bye.